About 10 years ago, Steve was a student leader at Queen's University. He was one of many Queen's students who had a passion to impact their campus and the world for Jesus. They shared their faith regularly on the campus, and they begged God to use them and their disciples to impact the world for Christ. And over time, God has answered their prayers. Two of the students impacted through Steve's ministry were Alex and Ted. Today, Alex is the Dean of Students at People's Christian Academy, and he continues to multiply himself through high school and junior high kids there. Alex frequently takes his kids to share the gospel in downtown Toronto, and he recently returned from a trip to Thailand, where these youth courageously shared their faith in this Buddhist nation. Ted went on to become a youth pastor at Harvest Fellowship in Oakville, and today he's a senior pastor at Harvest Brampton. He and Chris, another of our alumni, planted this church about 18 months ago and have seen it grow to over 300 people, with several people coming to faith. God raised up other pastors from that Queen's group as well. Mike at Mission Baptist in Hamilton, Tony at First Alliance in Scarborough, and Josh, who's pastoring in Bermuda. Another student who came out of that ministry was Mary Catherine. Mary Catherine ended up spending 2 years as a missionary in East Asia before coming back and giving leadership to our ministry at McMaster University. Over the past several years, Mary Catherine and her husband Kelly have multiplied themselves through McMaster and are also giving leadership to our East Asia partnership and to Bridges, which is focusing on reaching international students with the gospel. McMaster is one of our largest ministries in Canada and has produced a number of our staff, like Anton and Rosalind, who are serving in Edmonton, and Selena and Aban, who served for a year in North Africa before joining us here in Toronto, and Alan, who is our campus director at the University of Waterloo and today helps give leadership to our National Evangelistic Strategies team. Going back to Steve, while he was at Queen's, he challenged his friend Andy to get involved in our ministry at Carleton University. While there, Andy discipled a young man named Darren, who is now the campus director at the University of Calgary, and will spend the next year leading a team in Scotland along with his wife Tara and another Carleton grad. Andy has gone on to become our regional director for Quebec. While at Carleton, Andy and Darren had an impact on Dan, Jordy, Brad, and Jeremy. Dan and Jordy spent a year plus with us in East Asia and today are on staff at the University of Guelph. This next year, Dan will be the campus director there and Jordy will help to drive a national strategy to reach business students across the nation. Brad, who came to university focused on partying and smoking weed, had his life turned around through his involvement with our ministry. And today, he's the campus director at the University of Montreal, and he helps give leadership to our Desert Rain Partnership, which is focused on reaching a closed Muslim nation. And Jeremy spent almost 2 years in the President's office, helping to coordinate our outreach during the last Winter Olympics. Also coming out of that ministry is Sabrina, who has spent the past several years ministering to sex trade workers in India, and Wes, who spent the past 2 years with our ministry in Panama. While he was there, Wes helped the Panamanian ministry to begin to send missionaries from Panama to the Dominican Republic. Today, Steve continues to multiply himself through students like Kenny, who Steve led to faith and discipled. Kenny led his friend Pat to faith and is now prayerfully considering going into full-time ministry in Quebec. Another of Steve's disciples, Nathan, will spend next year sharing Christ among Muslims in the Middle East. Over 10 years, the multiplied impact of just one student has allowed us to touch hundreds of students in nearly a dozen nations.